Welcome back to Leveraging Leadership. Here are 3 ways you can check your ego at the door as Chief of Staff. So we all know Chief of Staff is behind the scenes role. We're setting others up for success. We're putting them in best position to lead, and we're building that system and that framework that the business runs on. So a lot of times we're going to have to check our ego at the door as we go about these things. The first way is to not care who gets credit for something. So this is something that when I was chief of staff, I had to actively work on and keep tabs on because I like getting credit. And I had several circumstances where, hey, I came up with the idea. Everyone heard me at the leadership meeting, like, this is my idea. I spearheaded the initiative and I executed against that for months and months and months, and it worked. And then, oh, look, so-and-so is getting credit for that at the all company meeting. And there I am, like, slow clapping, bravo, amazing idea. And on the inside, but I had to get over that and say, the thing got done. The end goal we had got done. I'm managing to a result. I'm managing to an outcome. And did that outcome get done? Yes, it did. So great job, team. Great job, everybody. So not hanging your hat on, I must get credit for every single thing that I do. And if you think about it, if you have a team who doesn't care who gets credit for things, that frees up so much energy on your leadership team. So much energy, so much creative space and freedom and all these different things. So if you can be an example of how to do that to others, hopefully they'll emulate that or get closer to it. You could be helping your team in that way too. The second way to check your ego at the door is to not have to be right all the time. We've all been around those people who have to be right, have to defend their position. Oh, well, what you meant to say or what I meant to say or what really had to happen. And they always have to have the last word. Don't be that person. They're not pleasant to be around, and it's not serving you well as chief of staff. So I'll give you an example. So not being right is one thing. And having to apologize when you've done nothing wrong is another. So this is a real life story, and I gotta try to anonymize this. But I was working with an executive, a very senior executive, and this person and I disagreed on pretty much everything. And there was a lot of contention, a lot of friction, and they were actively trying to get me fired from my job. And that was a pretty open secret. Anyway, that's the backdrop. There was this client escalation. Something happened with a big client of ours, and it was late at night, and people were trying to Slack and text and call and figure out what we were doing, and it was rapid fire. And I did something that could be taken one of 2 ways. Like, a reasonable person would be like, okay, I can see she was trying to do that, or oh, she might have been trying to do that. And she was trying to do that could have been taken as I was doing something to make them look bad. And so in this situation, there had already been this buildup of contention and friction. And if this scenario was taken in a certain way, that would blow the whole thing up. And it was oh my gosh, let's try to avoid World War III here. And so we had that issue late at night. And then the next morning, we actually had a leadership meeting. And I was speaking to my CEO beforehand about the client escalation. And we got to talking about, the team dynamics and where we were going to have to go moving forward and all these different things. And this was not a good situation. They had indicated they took offense to this, and it was escalating. It was not getting better. And at one point in that conversation with my CEO, I said, would it make sense if I apologized to this person at the leadership meeting? And my CEO said, I think that would go a long way. And so I, honest to God, I was not doing anything to make anyone look bad or undercut anyone, but I could see how it could have been taken like that. And I knew the background of the situation. And so to move us forward and to not have this escalate into something that's going to blow up and for the greater good of the team, I went in there and I apologized to this individual. I did a whole bunch of breathing exercises and affirmations and finding my best self beforehand. But I did what I needed to do. And that's the name of the game. Sometimes even when you're when you're not wrong and you need to go in there and keep the peace and move things forward, that's what you have to do. And part of that was, hey, I'm sitting there, I'm prepping myself to go into that. I'm finding my best self as a leader. I'm finding, what moves us forward. The other way to think about that, and I've thought about this scenario, is I was very pragmatic and I was very ruthless. So I was like, look, if this is what it takes to get us here, I will go in and I will swallow vinegar and apologize to this person who, maybe in like in my opinion, doesn't need to be apologized to, but da 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 da. But it was like, you know what? Let's be cutthroat. Let's be baller. Let's go this direction and get it done. And so at some points in chief of staff, you're going to have to say, all right, I can dig my heels in and defend my position to the death, and I have to be right. And my center of gravity is always moving around. How do I be right in every situation? Or you can check your ego at the door, even to the point where, hey, I'm going in to apologize. I don't really think I need to apologize, but this is what needs to happen to move us forward. All right, the third way to check your ego at the door is to speak up even when you know that people won't like what you're going to say, or you think like, oh, this is going to create a firestorm, or if you're unsure of exactly how to say it, and you might think it's going to make me look bad if I voice this opinion. A definition of vanity that I heard recently was that vain people have an inordinate preoccupation with what other people think. I'll say that again, an inordinate preoccupation with what other people think. And so if you're sitting there going, I'm going to look like an idiot, I'm going to look stupid, what'll people think? I don't know, I guess I should probably say something, but I really don't want to. Maybe it'll solve it by itself. What if I said this and then they said that and then I said this back? But like, what if they said this? I won't have anything to say. Well, at that stage, you've moved into I have an inordinate preoccupation with what other people might think about me. And so in that way, you're acting like a vain person. So it's not always the arrogant, braggadocious, out there, rah, 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 me people. It could be someone who's sitting there very quietly, flittering around and like festering around in their own head of like, what happens if I say this? And what happens if they say that? So another way to check your ego at the door is to just speak up and say, look, part of my job is to voice this opinion, even if it's a contrary one, even if it doesn't come out quite right. And that was a clunky way to say it, but now it's out there and we can start the conversation. That is an important way to check your ego at the door to be an effective chief of staff as well. All right, so go forth, be good chiefs of staff, be good behind the scenes team members, and don't care who has credit, don't care about being right every time, because you're not going to be anyway, and speak up even if it comes out weird or if people think a little bit differently about you after you've said something. So don't worry about that. Keep moving forward and keep moving your team forward. Be great leaders, and I will see you next time on Leveraging Leadership.
If you'd like some more information on the topic discussed in this episode, head over to nextlevel.coach and click on the resources page for some helpful free downloads.